We've got the Cup Finals, I win the Calder, kind of. Plus, we cover who the next Wild captain might be, and player movement updates. We've got it all. Also, Mark Parrish is our guest on episode 41. Here we go.
Masks, hats, tees, and hoodies, Soda Stick is constantly bringing you new and original swag. Whether you want to rep the Minnesota Vikings with the Bud Grant crew neck, or let folks know you're from the state of hockey with the McGolden Light Pond Hockey Club gear, Soda Stick has you covered. Toss down that Bardown Beauties code at checkout for free shipping on all purchases at sodastick.com, official presenting sponsor of the Bardown Beauties podcast. Hello, everybody. We're back. Episode 41, presented by sodastick.com. So much hockey to talk about. Alexis, where do you want to start? I mean, really, so much that we can cover right now.
Well, we could start with the fact that I beat you in our Calder bet. That's a reassuring way to start.
I don't even think that's not even on our rundown. I don't think that we even need to talk about that. I stand by Quinn Hughes. He was very close. I forget how far off that was. Like, that's insane how close that was, though.
Well, also even in previous episodes where we kind of talked about like updates on the Calder race, I even said, I was like, okay, I'm kind of leaning more towards Quinn. He was almost like his performance in the playoffs was like really, really impressive. And it was a super close race at the end. And I'm happy I ended up winning. I get a beer out of it at some point, sometime, some way. But yeah,
we can all return to even see. I don't even think we've seen each other in how long, you guys.
Like, I saw just you and I saw each other like 2 weeks ago, but yeah, virtually the 10K pot.
I was like,
10K. I'm so sorry.
We saw each other in person.
Yeah,
that was great.
But that was the only time. And then now for you to pay me out my beer for my championship victory. But
I mean,
it was a
you're
close
getting
race.
a Hams or a Busch Light or something, whatever. Fine, cool.
Not Busch Light, please.
What do you think it was? I mean, like you said, I agree. I was also on the McCarr train too. I mean, it was hard to argue one truly is better than the other. And I imagine that was such a difficult decision for everybody voting. What do you think really gave Cal a couple of those extra votes to secure him this win?
I don't know. I think it could be a couple of things. I mean, I think they have a lot of similarities, but also differences. And I think Cale Makar is a little bit more, I don't know if explosive is the right word, but I think he brings like a tad bit more excitement to his play. And I think he's got a better supporting cast as well. I mean, you look at some of the guys on that Colorado roster, it makes it easy for a guy like Cale Makar to perform as well as he does. I think Quinn Hughes has a little bit more weight on his shoulders when it comes to performance, just because, not that Vancouver doesn't have good pieces. They've got a lot of great pieces. I just think that Colorado roster is just so dominant that Cale Makar just fits so nicely into it. And I mean, if you look at the points each of them got in the voting, I mean, it was literally like within points of each other. So I think it's just, to me, that's what's the ultimate factor in it. But I wouldn't have been surprised if Hughes would have been the one who won it.
No. And again, I mean, I think it truly could have gone either way, but I think you nailed it just there. I think Quinn Hughes is, and a lot of that voting, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, took place before we really saw Quinn do even that extra level. So, I mean, I think had that been taken into, effect, then that could have changed things a little bit. Either way, both really dynamic players, very exciting players, fairly different players, but still just really electric. And I can't wait to see them next season, whenever that may be, since both of them are currently in their off season, which brings us to Stanley Cup Final. That is here. We're recording this on a Friday ahead of Game 4, so we don't know. There could be a Stanley Cup victor by the time we release this, or there could not be. Alexis and I have been doing previews and recaps, taking turns. But Alexis, who do you think comes out with the cup, and do they get it done this weekend?
Oh, do they get it done this weekend? Probably not. I really think this is going to be a long series. I keep going back to the Bolts, and I know I've said it so many times in like my previews and breakdowns anytime, because I had the Western Conference Final, so I've been covering Dallas here now for the last few weeks, and I just keep saying there's something that's missing for me with that team. And I know that's probably going to sound stupid because it's like they've made it to the final. So it's, I mean,
was it Steven Stamkos or like, oh, but he's back, so no?
I don't know what it is, but the Bolts are just, they have so many good pieces. I mean, you look at that roster and then Stamkos comes back and he scores a goal like a minute and a half into his shift.
Third shot, no big deal. Apparently his
like,
wrist still worked. That wasn't no surgery required.
Just comes on the ice, scores a goal, and doesn't come back for the whole game. I'm like, okay, Steven Stamkos. I mean, I think the Bolts are too good and too consistently good to lose in the Stanley Cup Final. I do think that the Dallas Stars are going to give them a run for their money, but I think ultimately the Bolts are going to come out and win.
See, and I would like to think that the Bolts come out and finish it this weekend. I think the past 2 games, they were just so incredibly dominating that's the team that I expected, right? And, they had struggled to score first, and they finally are scoring first. So they're throwing that first punch, right? Which, as everybody knows, is huge. It's not everything. You can certainly lose a game if you put 3 up in the first period. We saw that through all of these conference finals and the playoffs. Yeah. But I think for them, that's huge. And their top guys are producing just like they're supposed to. Again, you look at Dallas, and you have some of your guys have found their game, but you have plenty of the guys who haven't. Tyler Seguin, very, very quiet right now. I mean, even
too
JD
many
Ben,
inconsistencies.
Yes, exactly. And then now you've got Ben Bishop, who is unfit to play. Not just, what do you do there? You don't have a goalie that can stop such a potent offense in Tampa. So I think that Tampa finishes it. I think by Monday they'll be the Cup champions. So
I will say this. I think the longer the series goes, the more it benefits a team like Dallas, because I think that Dallas has had to face so much. They've been counted out so many times that I think the longer this goes, the more Dallas is going to find their footing. So I think it benefits Tampa to try to finish this off this weekend. But I don't know. I think it might be a long series. We'll see.
And, let's bring the hockey news and conversation back home here. Mikko Koivu spoke with media just today before we're recording. Again, we're recording this on a Friday, as we usually do. He did not announce retirement. I think I was heading into that conversation saying he is going to retire. He's going to say thank you. Yada, yada. Not that he didn't say thank you. He was just like, he's not sure what he wants to do still. He's still here in Minnesota. He plans to go back to Finland and train for a little bit for the rest of this offseason and then make a decision. He said he still has a lot of different question marks that he's kind of mulling through, and he wants to be 100% certain. And, he deserves that. He deserves to have that. The question was asked, would you play for an NHL team? And he said maybe. That's what he wants to figure out. I
don't think so.
He can drag it out as long as he wants, right? Especially when the season's not starting. The one thing we do know is that he will not be back in a Minnesota Wild sweater. Unfortunately, again, thank you to Mikko for his time here, possibly his entire career, but his 15 years here. That also leaves a vacancy for captains. I know we put out a great Twitter poll last week, on who you'd like to see. Our options we gave were Marcus Foligno, Luke Cunnin, and Jared Spurgeon, who are 3 that I think definitely need to be top of consideration. Alexis, would you agree with those 3 first of all, or would you see toss somebody else in there for the C, not for the A's, for the C?
I would say for the C, those are 3 of the better options that we'll probably see from this team. And granted, I was talking with my dad about this other day. I said, I think every person on a team could make a bid for captaincy in one way, shape, or form, right? Like there's a reason they're playing at this high of a level. There's a reason, like everyone has certain leadership qualities that are good to have on a team. But I think when you look at the Wild roster, those 3 are probably your best options. There still are, there's some questions with some of them, like Foligno. It's like, well, he needs a contract extension, I think, first before you say, should we give him the C? But I think if you break it down, here's my, quick analysis of these 3. Everyone knows how much I appreciate and respect Marcus Foligno. That's not a mystery at all. And I do truly think between those 3, he is the best option. And here's why. I think Jared Spurgeon, great hockey player, great leader. He now has the contract. He's in his 2nd year of his contract extension. He's got all of that going for him, but I think he's too quiet of a guy to be the kind of leader that the Minnesota Wild need to see. And I'm sure people will say, well, Mikko Koivu was a quiet guy. Yes, but not in the same way as Jared Spurgeon. And so not to say that he couldn't make a good captain. I just think that there's better options. Then you look at a guy like Luke Cunnin, and I think that we see a lot of feistiness out of him in games, which I think is a good thing for a captain to have. Mikko Koivu had that as well. And I think that Luke Cunnin has a passion for the game that is also good for a captain to have. But something about him, I don't know how comfortable I would be with him being a full-time captain.
Kind of a loose cannon sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe he's a little too young and hasn't quite matured yet enough. Yeah, for sure.
And I look at Moose and I think he has so many of the pieces that I think would make a tremendous captain. Even and Jesse, you can attest to this, when we're in the locker room post-game, who is the guy who's talking? Who is the guy who is, you know, he's always so vocal with the teammates. When we're interviewing him, he has all the right answers. And then you look at his performance on the ice, the way he interacts with players on the bench. I just think that there's so many things that he has that would make him a great captain. I would love to see him get a contract extension and then have a captaincy follow.
You know, I struggle with between Spurge and Foligno for these reasons, and for a lot of what you had addressed too. Marcus has those natural leadership qualities. I wasn't just blowing smoke up his ass when I said that when we talked to him a couple weeks ago, because I've seen his brother in action as a captain in Columbus, and they're so similar in the way that they command a room, not only from media, but just they have a great amount of respect. And I think Marcus is really great at being kind of the bridge between the vet guys and the young guys too, which is huge, especially on a team that has so many veteran players and so many young guys, and you need that room to come together. He's a great guy for that. So that's where I do put one bean in the pot for Foligno. But for the sake of being a little bit different and keeping the conversation rolling, I like the idea of Spurge for just the veteran status alone. I think he's earned that honor. I think he's earned that right. I mean, if he doesn't get a C, I minimally want to see an A on his sweater for sure. Because I think he's really, I mean, again, what he does do it quietly. And I think that's something to be spoken for. And I think you have enough guys in the room that can still be those leadership guys without wearing the letter. You've got Foligno, you've got Alex Stalock, who actually I chatted with this morning about just that, about how important it is to have everybody kind of be that leader. You don't need a letter on your jersey to be
Foligno
a true
said
leader.
that himself. When we
exactly. And I mean,
everyone should do that.
Every athlete, I feel, knows that, right? Like you got to be knocked upside the head if you think any different. Like it doesn't make sense. But yeah, so I think Spurgeon kind of deserves that. It's an honor, right? It's a true honor, especially to be a captain after Mikko Koivu had held that for so long, since 2009, which is crazy. So I think that's where I'd like to see him, and that's why I would choose Spurgeon. I love Luke Cunnin. I love the leadership qualities that he had shown even when he was young. I mean, he was just the second ever sophomore captain when he played for Wisconsin, and he had led 2 Team USA World Junior squads as a captain. So he has leadership qualities. I just think, he needs to mature maybe just a little bit more. And again, I think he might be a player that might not necessarily be with the Mild. He could be a good bargaining chip. So
that's why I was a little hesitant on that one too.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Right. So
Fred, I know you had something to
Fred, you had an idea.
I found it really interesting that everybody just assumes that the A's are getting pulled from Parisian Suter.
Yeah.
I don't assume that at all. I think that's
it. Well, no one's talking about those. And it's like, well, if you think they're going to stay, is that really going to do anything? Like making Marcus Foligno a captain, I don't think that's going to change the feel in the locker room. So much of that locker room is dictated by Parisian Suter. And I don't know. I mean, if I were to do it, I'd pull all of them. And I would probably give the seat to Foligno, but I think that A at least needs to go to Kevin Fiala.
I mean,
and the reason why I say that is because the A's and the C's also show the team who are the foundational pieces of your team.
Yeah.
And who you're building the team around. And Fiala is the man right now.
Yeah. The only thing I would say in response to that is that just because even if they were to pull the A's from the guys who have them now, I don't necessarily think that would change anything as far as the locker room interaction between the guys. The appearance of it might seem different to opponents and fans and whatever, but just like how you could put the C on anyone's jersey, there could still be other leaders in the room. You could take the C and the A's away from guys and they could still try to be leaders in the room. So that would be my only comment, but I agree that you want to make it seem like here's who we're building our team around. Here are our leaders, and this is what our future is going to look like. So I think that's a good point. And I'm surprised more people aren't talking about Kevin Fiala as at least an alternate captain.
Well, I will go back to my drunken rant on Wines and Lines a couple weeks ago, where I finally spouted it. I had been, so to be honest, again, I'm in this locker room day in and day out for the past 6 years, right? Like just very constant around this team. And for the past about year and a half, I have harbored the feelings that you need to take the letters off of Parisian Suter, because they carry with that a power that I just think it's not quite deserving. And so I had kept that null until I got drunk, and then I ranted about it on the podcast. So I'll stand by that, because I've told, close friends too. And again, not that I'm trying to bash either of those guys as people or as players. There needs to be a change. Again, Guerin wants to change the outlook of the team. You need to take the letters from everybody and start over. Everything needs to restart. So yeah, Fred, exactly what you're saying. Like, you're right. One putting a new captain doesn't change that
You
dynamic.
don't want to
You need to
half-ass
change the whole leadership foundation entirely. And I'm a full support of that. I don't think Zach or Ryan would be happy at all about that situation. So I'd be
Probably
curious
not.
as to how that does further affect dynamic while they're still on the team. But I personally would 100% say you need to just, again, start over entirely.
Well, and just to point out, Kevin Fiala and I have the same birthday, so maybe that's a little something to it too.
Fiala for
Yeah.
alternate.
Right.
Yeah.
Hashtag Fiala for alternate.
But also, there's so many decisions that are made with the coaching staff through the captains.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
So you've got to realize it's not about leadership in that locker room fully.
Mhm.
It's the fact that the coach is going to sit down with his captains and they're all going to come to an agreement. And so a lot of the things that the team has done, even like with media, like how much do they actually interact with the media? How much do they do X, Y, and Z? A lot of that's coming from captain coach meetings. So that counts.
I also think Brodeen would make a great alternate captain, like 100%. Like I think he would. I'm saying
Terrible
it.
take.
That is a
Terrible.
fair take, and do not disrespect my great take.
When have you ever seen Brodeen actually speak up about
He
anything?
can't talk very well.
He doesn't
can't
know.
speak very well.
Listen.
He's silent.
My favorite thing Brodeen ever did, there was one time we were interviewing him and he was trying to say it was like a play on words he was trying to use, and he like did it like half right, and then he asked everybody, he's like, did I say that right? And we were like, I can't remember what the play on words was, but I've like loved him ever since. I was like, that's amazing. So
I mean, I guess it wouldn't be any different because we don't get to talk to half the captains anyway because they refuse to speak to us. Again, why I want to strip them all down, take them all off. God damn it.
The most awkward thing I've ever seen with Jonas Brodeen was one night I actually traveled with the team to Columbus, and it was the same night as Yul Eriksson X's 21st birthday.
ooh.
And I walked past a bar where it was just Jonas Brodeen and Yul Eriksson, and it looked like the saddest birthday dinner I've ever seen in my life.
Oh
It
no.
was just they were just sitting there quietly in
Fred,
the
why
window
you
of a
gotta
restaurant.
bring
And
the
I
mood
was
down
like,
that?
it's like I kind of feel like I need to go in there and buy him some shots or something.
Oh God, you should have. Why didn't you?
Yeah.
Did they have a game the next night? Probably should
yeah,
have
they
done
had a
that.
game
Probably.
the next night. But still, it's just
Probably
the,
wouldn't
this
have got
quiet
the
little-
video guy bought a bunch of shots for these two. It can't play now.
Have their worst performance of all time. It's all because Fred bought
You know what?
them
I hope
shots.
they would treat you then like they treated Gallant in Florida, and then just packed your bags and like let you in the state and like sent you a taxi. Like, all right, you're no longer with the team.
I would
Ruined
understand.
everything. Well, that kind of does it. That'll wrap it up. A couple little footnotes, I guess, just to keep you guys current. David Backes, possibly his final year. Anaheim says they want to find a spot for him to actually play on the roster. He's a hometown Minnesota kid. Man. Now he's been in the league for a very long time. So that's kind of interesting. Also, Dustin Byfuglien, doubtful to play in 2021, despite many teams asking about him. It just sounds like he doesn't want to return, and he's keep being off the grid, doing whatever he's doing. Both of those little notes coming from Andy Strickland of FS Midwest. So credit to him for digging up those.
If
And
David
Lynn-
Backes is a kid, I'm a fetus. Like literally.
I know. It's so funny. I'm doing a feature story, Minnesota Hockey Journal plug on him
plug.
actually. Yeah. And I forget that he's quite a bit older than me even too. Like that's how old he is, but really, really nice guy. So, I mean, I wish him nothing but the best, especially this season. Should it be his last one?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Also, Lynn Olsen from Minnesota, who was absolutely instrumental in creating girls hockey here in Minnesota, starting the high school hockey tournament. She wins the Lester Patrick, which is obviously for people that have made an impact in the sport of hockey. So congrats to her. That is the 4th consecutive year a Minnesota person has won that prestigious honor. So congrats to Lynn, and thank you for all that you've done. Also, thank you to Fan HQ for helping us build up our Twitter following. Shout out to everybody now following us. Hope you're listening, because this is what we are. We don't just give away free pucks all the time. No, for hooking us up with the Capri Soft giveaway. So thank you to everybody that participated. Thank you for following. Thank you for listening. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Mark Parrish. Stay tuned.
Do you want to continue to support the Beauts? Well, make sure you check out our official Bardown Beauties Teespring store. It's stocked full of mugs, fanny packs, baby Beauts merch, and everything else you can imagine. Every purchase goes to support the pod and the Beauts, and we make sure to toss sales out there from time to time. I know one just ended, but there's going to be plenty more in the future to support you and your wallet. So make sure you go check that out and get yourself some merch.
We're back, and joining us now, whether you're a vodka drinker, K-Fan Power Trip listener, NHL Network watcher, avid Husky or Jaguars fan, you know and love our next guest, Mark Parrish, the one, the only. How you doing, Parrish? You pretty good? You look comfortable, relaxed for those watching.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, yeah, now that I think about it, I think I got my Jefferson
Oh, there we
shirt on
go.
even too.
And that's a soda
So
stick
go
one, right?
Jaguars. It didn't bring me any luck in initials. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, everything I wear is soda stick.
I love it. We love them too. Yeah, initials. Let's talk about. I mean, we're recording this on a Friday, as most know. You came close, 4-way tie, didn't pull out the win though. What the hell happened, man?
I rang in too early, and that stupid goldfish. If I had just sat on gluten-free, and of course, all my Northland fellows are sitting there gonna be like, "We're gluten-free. Are you kidding me? How did you not get gluten-free with Northland?" Just to rub it in even more. But yeah, that was a fun one. It's fun to, for me, for a guy that's only got 20 wins, it's nice to just be in it at the end. I kind of take that as a victory.
I would too. I mean, yeah. Do you be honest? Do you prepare pretty hard for this coming into each week? I know you don't know the initials, so you have to be really ready for anything. But how do you get yourself ready to rock and roll Friday mornings?
I gotta be honest with you. I don't do a damn thing. I just kind of, I know Corey's going to try and throw a twist at me at some point. I just assume he is going to try and slide a hockey guy by me. So more or less when I hear the initials, AJ, the list of names and everything he comes up with, it's crazy. I can't believe he thinks of so many things when Corey just says the initials. Me, I'm instantly just go hockey. I'm like, all right, is that a hockey team I played for? Is that somebody I played with? I'm convinced he's going to try and slide a hockey player or something by me when it comes to hockey. If I can't think of any of those, then I just kind of let my brain go free. Just relax. Because the worst thing you can do is get kind of focused on one. And I've done that before. And it's the worst part is when he does like initials for like a friend or for like my mom. Like if he does like BP, like I'll have Parrish stuck in my head and you're just kind of screwed because you're trying to force your mom to fit in there. And damn well, of course, not going to do my mom. But that being said, you just get stuck in that mode. So I try and do the sauce. I'll instantly go through the hockey thing. And then because Sauce doesn't write down anything. He just tries to keep his mind open and just kind of go with the flow. So I try and do that. It doesn't quite work as well for me as it does for him. It seems to be his game plan. But up until I come up with one that works, I'm running with Sauces.
Yeah. I think it's good. That's what I would do too. Even when I listen on my drive to work or wherever I might be going in the morning, I do the same thing. Like you said, I think of people I know, I'm like, of course that's wrong. Like that doesn't make any sense. Why on earth would he do that? But you can't move on from it. It's hard.
Well, speaking of radio, Mark, you have found yourself, on the radio several times now throughout your K-Fan experience. You also found your way onto the NHL network. When you were growing up playing hockey in the NHL and now your post-NHL career, did you ever envision yourself doing, TV, radio stuff, or was it something that just kind of fell into place and now you're just having a blast with it?
Your personality doesn't fit it at all, so it's shocking, really.
Not at all. Not even a little. I actually thought I was convinced I was going to go into coaching, which I enjoy doing now with my kids, and did a little bit of high school coaching, obviously, but I never did it all. And when St. Cloud called me up, when Jim Rich called me and asked me if I was interested to do the color for St. Cloud, I didn't even hesitate, and I said no. And I hung up and I told my wife, and my wife was like, "What the Sam hell are you doing? Why don't you want to do that?" I'm like, I don't want to do TV. I don't want to, I always thought it was hard. I didn't want to be one of those guys, the older retired guys that was critical of players. And luckily enough, my wife called Brett Heddick in, Ben Clymer, the two guys that do TV. So those two instantly called me and said the same thing my wife did. "What the Sam hell are you doing?" At least try it. And then, if you don't like it. And I'm so glad that the three of them got together and ganged up on me, because it didn't take long. And I fell in love with it. It's a lot of fun to be up there. And I like, a lot of the, like Heddick was saying that it's the second best job besides playing. I just explain it and rip on the guys now, and I love it.
Well, yeah, you get to still interact with them too and kind of chirp guys, right? It's got to be fun to see those guys that and still have kind of that locker room feel. We had Matt Hendricks on last week, and he had mentioned that's the one thing he misses about playing is like being in the locker room and seeing those guys. And I think any way that you can keep that connection has got to be pretty fun and important, huh?
It is, and it's I always get a kick out of when guys are watching, you know, and I'm working the NHL network, and if I say something about the Islanders, I'll instantly get texts from Brock Nelson and Nick Leddy, Andersley. They'll all be all over me like, what the hell? I can't believe you said this and that. But it's all in fun, and just like that, it's the locker room. And that's to be honest, that's my favorite thing about the power trip as well. Just to go back to that, is it's just like a locker room. You can't get away with anything on that show. And literally anything. They'll tear you to pieces just like it was in the locker room. They keep you honest. There's that camaraderie. And that really fills that void. If you talk to a lot of retired guys, and not just hockey, you know, obviously Ben Lieber and Chad Greenway, football, and guys, and Justin Morneau, Maurer, these guys that I know from other sports. It's the camaraderie of all the BSing that happens in the locker room that everybody misses.
You got to do it. I mean, you mentioned the Isles. Let's start there. How impressive were they this playoff run? Did you think that maybe there was a shot that they were gonna get the cup at the end?
Well, I hope they don't listen to this podcast, because I mean, I couldn't believe it, especially the way that they were playing after this, when the season went to break. They were awful. I mean, they were just terrible. They were playing pretty well for most of the year, and then they just went on a 20-game skid. They looked like they had nothing going, and then they come back into this shortener, this playoff, the tournament, whatever they wanted to, whatever we're calling it, I guess. And they were they were playing the best team game early on. I mean, they were committed. I don't know what Barry Trotz sent them home with, what kind of homework they had during the break. Whatever it was, they came back committed. Varlamov obviously was playing spectacular, but their D zone was so tight, and the layers they had in their D zone. Then you see guys like Brock Nelson that just stepped up and was a beast for him in the playoffs. Beauvilliers, Pajot was playing. Boy, is he underrated as a player. He's literally one of those guys that a coach like Barry Trotz can throw out there with anyone. It doesn't matter who he plays with. He plays the same game, does so many little details so well. Pellick and Pollock, their D pairing. I was absolutely blown away. I wrote them off. I really did. And man, they came back and they had the Cinderella story going. It was incredible. But then they ran into this buzzsaw Tampa Bay Lightning team that I don't think anybody's going to survive this year.
I know. You know, that was it for me too. Like, I love the Islanders, and I love all the Minnesotan connections there too, right? That's always pretty special. But I think it was these supporting guys really that seemed to step up. I mean, your top line really wasn't doing a heck of a whole lot for a lot of that series, especially against Tampa there. And so I think that was what was always exciting to me. And as a writer, I love the Cinderella story. I'd rather write about that than the A team that goes on and wins. Like, well, of course you are. You know, it's you want the Ducks to take down Iceland every time, right? Like, that's what you got to go for. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of the Islanders, you know, they weren't able to make it past the Tampa Bay Lightning, which you said is a pretty formidable team, as we all know. What do you think about the Stanley Cup Final so far? Do you think Dallas is going to give them a run for their money at all? Obviously, we're recording this on a Friday. We're sitting at a 2-1 Bolt series lead. How do you think this is all going to play out?
Boy, yeah, at the beginning of the playoff or beginning of the series, I said Bolts in 6, and I think, man, after that Dallas game, and it wasn't so much Dallas's fault, but the way Tampa just came out and laid an egg. Vasilevsky wasn't in good form. The team just wasn't there. They for the first time, they looked pedestrian. They just looked slow and disinterested, and I think it pissed him off. I can see this game or this series ending in the next 2 nights or 2 games. Excuse me. They're just too good. Stamkos, are you kidding me? He comes back off 211 days. He hasn't stepped on a game, Stanley Cup playoff game, and he just flies right around. Oh shoot, I can't remember who the defenseman was for Dallas. Just flies right around him, top shelf on Khudobin like it's nothing. Like it was just incredible to see that. And unfortunately, it kind of looks like he hurt himself again. Right. But you know, for the captain to come back and add something like that to the team when they already, because that's the amazing thing with Tampa to me is they're so lights out. They were the most dominant team in the playoffs. Everybody's got them picked to win it all. And they were missing Steven Stamkos, and they didn't miss him.
And Braden Point was in and out of the lineup too, right? Like another who's amazing. But yeah, they were without some of those guys.
Yeah, the way the guys just took Kucherov obviously has been Kucherov. You know, Vasilevsky, Hedman has been out of this world these playoffs. I mean, and you look at you look at how their depth at D when you got Ryan McDonough on their second pairing, for crying out loud. That's almost unfair. And those guys, just the way that they play, the speed that they play, they're getting scoring, the secondary scoring that's been coming in for them. Palat, nobody even talks about Andre Palat on that left wing side there with Point and Kucherov, and he's been spectacular all playoffs. They're just good. They're just too good.
That's where I'm at too. Like
of Anaheim back in 2007 when nobody got to a game 7. That's what I remember them, that Anaheim team. Remember how dominant, because I remember losing them in the first round. Damn it.
We don't need to talk about that. Just we'll shove that one back down. Good. You played for both Tampa and Dallas, right? What was it like playing for the Dallas Stars particularly? I mean, I imagine you grew up a North Star fan. Was that at all like a little weird? Because you know how all Minnesotans harbor that inner hatred for Dallas for taking what was ours, right? Did you ever think of that when you were there at all? Or was it kind of just exciting to still be playing in the NHL at that, in your career?
It was an odd thing. I actually felt more putting on the Wild uniform was cool, playing for the hometown team, but pulling on the Stars jersey, that was wicked. Because growing up a huge North fan, that's the reason. The Northland colors and North Star colors. And man, that was so amazing. But the Minnesotan in me was still pissed off. They stole our cup. Dallas stole our Stanley Cup. Dallas. So it was an interesting little battle I had internally, but I love playing in Dallas. It's a absolute first-class organization. The way they run everything is how every NHL team should be run. They take care of everything, and literally the one concern they want you, the players, just to play, just win games. And I absolutely loved it. And hey, when it was in February and it never got below 70 degrees, I could handle that playing hockey.
Well, let's take it even one step back further here in your playing career. Playing high school hockey in Minnesota is, that's a dream come true for any, Minnesota-born hockey player. You dream of playing in that state tournament, of playing a big role in that state tournament, winning a championship for your school. Talk about your experience playing high school hockey, because it's a pretty big deal here, as we all know.
That was still one of my highlights of my life. Like you said, growing up here in Minnesota, to get a chance, and I feel bad for the young kids now. They don't get the experience of playing for the clear boards. I mean, that was what it was all about. Just you wanted to play in the state tournament, to play in the clear boards, the old Civic Center, and getting that opportunity for Bloomington Jefferson. Because growing up in Bloomington, obviously I was a big North Stars fan, but nothing compared to just in high school, the varsity team. Those guys were kings. They were gods growing up, and I just wanted to. I couldn't wait. My whole goal in life was to wear the head to toe baby blue out there. Thought that was nice. Still my favorite color.
Nice color.
I'm a sucker for anything baby blue. And I tell you what, there was nothing better than going into a loud, crazy building. Elk River was really crazy. Grand Rapids, wearing head to toe baby blue and kicking the shit out of them. That was just a great feeling.
Do you think we've talked about this with so many people because we're very into what Minnesota hockey promotes, and that's that community based. Like you said, as a kid, you grow up wanting to be on the high school team. You don't really always think much past that here in Minnesota. Do you think it's more special for a Minnesota born player to win a state championship, or do you think it's more special to play Division I hockey for them, or to even get in that one NHL game? Obviously, there's always those levels, but what would you think does rank top for a Minnesota player?
Oh, I think it starts with the high school hockey tournament. Talking to a lot of guys, especially Matt Cullen and Brett Hedeke, you talk to these guys that have gone on to played at St. Cloud, obviously go Huskies. They win they go to make the NHL as well. Stanley Cup champions, and I can still give them shit. I can still hold over the head that I've got state championships, and it bugs
championships
them.
plural too, right?
Yeah. Yes, championships plural. I tried trading one of them for Cullen's Stanley Cup ring, but he wouldn't go for that. I was kind of bummed.
That is. That's awesome. What was better, winning one, or was it better winning the second one? Because that's still, you guys did the back-to-back wins at a time when it was still pretty rare. Now you see it more often, it seems, with Edina or whatnot. But when you guys did it, it hadn't happened since International Falls back in like the 70s, right?
Yeah, that 93 team was something special. Being a sophomore on that team, that was just incredible. And I remember a couple years ago, and now I absolutely love being able to call now doing the Class A team tournament on my 45 on channel 45, or excuse me, 45 TV. Whoops.
45.
Yeah. Yes, there you go. I love being a part of it. And when they voted, when all the votes came in, and that 93 team was the best voted the best high school hockey team ever, we were all blown away. We remember talking to all the guys, Crowley and Bianchi, Mikey Anderson, Nick Checo, and talking to the guys, because we get together every few years. We get together and celebrate our championships, and we're lucky that we get to do it a couple years back to back when we do get together. And we talk about that. None of us really realized we were that good. We wanted to beat everybody. We wanted to be the best team in this state. We wanted to go back to back at that point. And it was pretty amazing. It's still pretty mind-numbing to think about that when you think about all the great teams. You talk about international falls, you go back in the history of the game, and we talk about Mayasic and Mariucci, and when our team gets kind of put in that category, it's humbling, to be honest with you. But for me personally, the 94 team, the 94 were for the three-peat, or for my back-to-back, just because I got to play a bigger role in it. The 93 team as a sophomore, I was on the fourth line. I hardly played, for crying out loud, which they love to bring up. The guys that went on to play in the NHL was on our fourth line. They love to rub that in whenever they get together, and I love that. So the 94 for me personally meant a little bit more just because the role I played in that one. But man, first one, second one, just to be part of something like that is so special, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, what about from a coach's perspective? Obviously, in 2018, you took Orono there. Does it feel any different? Is it any more or less special as a coach?
I think it was more special for me, knowing how rare it is. You don't realize that I was lucky to be in that dynasty of Jefferson, and we were just trying to keep up with the year ahead of us. Like, okay, they won it, now we can't let them down and win. And then realizing how rare it is as a coach, just going through it. And I talk about guys like Matt Cullen and Justin Morneau, and those guys are texting and congratulating me and calling me and congratulating. And you realize how difficult it is to win a championship at any level, whether it's high school, pro, college. So, for me, that was pretty special. And I tried to make sure the kids knew that, how rare it was, even though they kept rubbing it, or they kept bringing up, it can't be that hard. You got 3 of them now. So, the coaching one, that was a special place. It just felt much different than a player. I was more excited for the kids. That's something that nobody can ever take away from you. For the rest of your life, you're a state champion.
And you kind of brought Orono back on the map a little bit, right? I mean, what was that experience like? I know you've since stepped down a little bit from the high school level, like you said, and you get to coach kids, but what was just being at that level with those guys and kind of helping establish Orono as an organization to look at?
It was a lot of fun. I got to give a lot of credit to the kids, the parents, the support, everything that came behind that, and the community. Man, it was fun watching the fans start to trickle in more and more each game. And by the end of the year, where people were kind of like, hey, these guys are legit. But, the packed crowd and the community, the parade that we had with the fire trucks going down Highway 12, or old Highway 12, I should say, right downtown Orono into the high school. And they had, for halftime of their basketball game that was going on, they delayed it and they announced the team, and there was a big celebration. And, when I was going through it in high school, those things, I don't really remember those all as much, but I really took my time to appreciate it as the coach. That's for sure.
Imagine.
Well, we've covered a lot of hockey talk, high school, pro, everything. Let's talk about vodka now, because that's what we all want to talk about.
It's 11.
Right?
I think it's acceptable time to start talking vodka, drinking vodka, all the above.
It's noon somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So everybody who's listening to this probably knows, and if they don't know, they should know, that you have a vodka company, Northland Vodka. How did that come to fruition? Was that something you wanted to do? Or were you like 6 years old and you were like, you know what, when I'm an adult, I want to have a vodka company? Or when did that idea come into play?
9 years old.
Yeah, 9. Oh, sorry.
It's actually funny talking about Jaguars. One of my good friends, Robert Ramalingam from high school, kind of brought it up. Obviously, anybody that knows that I like vodka, and called me up a couple of years ago and asked me if I was why don't I have my own vodka? And I just kind of shrugged and said, well, I don't know where to start. Never crossed my mind. And he kind of brought up that he knew where to go with it, and I said, okay, fine. But for me, it was all about I wanted to be in control of the vodka itself. Like I wanted the product. It had to be as good as could be. Had to be as clean as can be, gluten free, organic. One of the things. Well, one of the reasons I drink just vodka is with the concussions and with my health. And there's things that just gone on with my body throughout the career, the beating it takes from playing hockey for 43 years, I guess. So I wanted the product really good, very clean, very healthy. My doctors more or less told me, hey, look, if you're going to drink vodka. The gluten was big for my diet, obviously gluten-free with all the arthritis and everything, so for inflammation. And so it went from there. And another big part was, we've talked about the hockey community, and it's important for me to give back to all those, the support that I've gotten. And it's not just, they say it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, it takes a state to raise a hockey player. And it's not just my parents and family and friends. It's the support I've gotten from Bloomington, St. Cloud, Orono, all these places. So the big thing for me was giving back. And that's why we're minimum 5%. We're actually over that. Which I'm proud to say. We have not turned anyone down so far that's asked for our support, even if it's just making some kind of donation for a charity event, whatever it may be. We've made sure that we've given back to 100% of people or organizations that have asked for us, and that was a big deal for me, because I wouldn't have made it to where I was without the support of this state.
I love that. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was going to be my next point. Like, we're very big on just giving back in any way we can, but yeah, to see that you guys are really making good on that promise and giving back to the associations, because again, to that community based, and that's why Minnesota hockey is so freaking special. I will say that every episode. I think I do say it every episode, because it
Good.
is. It makes it just it's so amazing. We're so lucky. Like, you go any other state, it's not like this everywhere, guys. That's why we develop the players that we do. So to see that you're taking that charge and that lead is awesome. But kids, let's stop listening now, because now we're going to keep talking drinks. What's your go-to vodka drink? I know there's the Pear Bear, but like, do you do just vodka on the rocks then, or what kind of how do you like to drink your vodka?
I actually, that's one of the things. It's vodka, water, and I like a little bit of lemon. And I don't know if, in another shameless plug, have anybody been to Honey and Mackey's ice cream? They now make a Northland vodka lemon drop ice cream, Napolitan sorbet.
Oh my God, lemon drops!
And they're
Stop.
spectacular. And that's the Pear Bear. And that's why it had to be. And oh my Lord, to being able to do the tastings of the ice cream to make sure it was right. Oh, and you need a little more sugar.
How long did that tasting last? Were you sitting there getting a brain freeze? Like, I'm fine. I just need to keep trying this. I just got to get it right.
Oh man, the more they brought out, the merrier. And I can put away some ice cream now that I'm not as worried about my weight for staying on the ice. I'm not afraid to eat a gallon if they put it in front of me. But yeah, no, they've been great, and that's the thing for me. I like that lemon. I love the lemon drop, so that's where I go with the Northland vodka. Sometimes a little bit of soda if I feel like some bubbles, but mainly just Northland vodka, water, and lemon.
There we
Simple.
go. That's a stellar drink right there.
I know. I'm bringing that up with me up to the North Shore this weekend. That's gonna be fun. I've got it packed, so I'll be sure to send that. What's the best place to drink? I mean, so I'm taking mine to the North Shore. What's the best place to drink Northland vodka?
Oh, anywhere outside. If you're bringing it out, I love it. I was gonna say, on the deck here, you guys are making me thirsty as soon as this episode's over. Go make myself one too.
Heck yeah, gotta do it. You had talked about too, learning. You wanted to be really involved and hands-on in the process of making the vodka. How do you make vodka? Like, tell us about that process and what you've learned. I know when we chatted a little bit at Care 11 on a segment, you had said, like, it's actually more complicated than I ever realized, right?
It really is, yeah. So we get our grain from Benson, and it's way out west side. One of these days, I actually want to get out there and kind of see the whole process of them turning it into alcohol, because then it comes in big old vats. to Copper Wing in St. Louis Park, where they distill it there more and then they bring it down. Because I think ours is over. Pure alcohol is about 190 something proof, and ours has actually been up and over that, which I'm not quite sure how that works, but that's what they tell me at Copper Wing. And they have to let it settle, and since it's so pure, they literally just take the top off and it'll naturally just proof itself down to where we just have to add a little bit of organic again, 100% organic, everything to get that way. Everything, the water, everything has to be filtered and purified just right. And to watch them bottle it, and it's a smaller place, so they bottle it right there by hand. There's 6 little spouts, I guess you call them, and they do it right there. So it's fun to watch that process. But yeah, I want to get out to Benson and actually see that whole process out there too, where they bring it down from the grain to the ethanol to the ethanol.
I think, everything that we covered in today's interview, I think the most important thing I learned is that vodka is part of every healthy diet, and that came straight from your doctor, so that's a fact.
Yes, I totally agree. Agreed. Everything else, that's all I need to know. Actually, I tuned out
after that. I was
Dr.
like,
Mark
great.
Parrish said that we can drink vodka and it's better for you. So
that's right.
It is. I love it. Well, awesome. Mark, where can people find you? Where can they find some Northland vodka and more information on where to purchase?
Well, northlandvodka.com, and you can go to Top 10 Liquors, Total Wine, Aces, Spirits, Haskell's. We're getting into a lot of mom and pop places where we started. Now we're getting into Total Wine. And if they don't have it at your local liquor store, just ask for it. I promise we'll deliver it.
I love it.
Go.
I love it. Stock up, ladies and gents. Winter's coming, but enjoy it now by a bonfire wherever you can. So we're going to take another quick break. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. You rock. You're the best. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely. Thanks, girls.
Don't miss a beat with the Beauts. Make sure you're subscribing to Bardown Beauties podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Once subscribed, help us grow by rating and telling us what you think about Bardown Beauties. We love bringing you fresh eps each and every week and need your help to reach new listeners and new heights. Appreciate your love and support. You're a beaut.
We're back. Thanks again to Mark. My cheeks hurt from laughing. He's just the best. Mark, you're just the best. Thank you so much for joining. I love the cigar coming in.
I was going to say, just rolls in with a cigar.
When he invited us over, I honestly thought, well, shit, I could probably be there in a half hour, right?
I just plug it into my MapQuest real quick.
We could do this live, baby. Let's go. Let's do a whole day drinking segment. Let's make that happen, right?
Day drinking with the Beauts.
I'm in. I'm at my age, and you'll learn this, Alexis. It's so much easier to day drink, and then you can go to bed by 9. And I call it go to bed. You can pass out and then you get a full night's sleep and you're not hungover in the morning and you're like, oh, that was spectacular. It's hard with kids to do it because they're probably like, why is mommy falling down? But
yeah,
just kidding.
Okay?
Nobody, for legal purposes, this is a joke. But no, I think, day drinking, I have a soft spot in my heart for day drinking. I always have, even when I was young, but it hits different after 30.
I'm coming fresh out of college, you keep in mind. So day drinking is just part of growing up, It's so day drinking I'm always down for as well. So maybe Mark and us can get together, drink some vodka.
We don't even need Mark. We could all just just do a Beauts, whatever.
He just gives us the idea. We're like, we're going to day drink. Not with you though.
I love it. Well, it's been a great episode so far. We're going to wrap her up. Let's do it. As everybody knows, Alexis takes a dive back into her hockey diary to recapture that sweet, sweet Alexis's emotions from that time. Here's Dear Diary with Alexis.
Wild versus Ducks, January 17th, 2009. Okay, Koivu gets hit in the face with a stick and his lip starts bleeding? No call. Do I have to spell it out on a billboard and stick it in front of your face?
And that's Dear Diary with Alexis. Appropriate,
sweet,
given
sweet Alexis.
Nico not knowing what he's doing. So thanks for that, Miko. Thanks for
I was ride or dying for Miko back in 2007, so you can't even say I wasn't a fan.
Classic. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode. Again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thanks, as always, for all the support and love that we constantly receive. I seriously am so humbled by it. It's truly amazing. We started this thinking it was just going to be with
an Amazon order.
Yeah, so we're really grateful to all of you for helping us kind of make this little dream come true and listen to our gossip and chatting and breakdowns and smart
Yeah.
things. We say a lot of smart things on here too. So
We try.
have a great rest of your week. We'll be back again next week. Thanks, guys.